2023 NFL draft is complete. The rosters are to be set for the season up and coming. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bucs UK podcast. I'm Alex, and I've got Graeme and Marianna with me. Hello, you two. Good to see you both.
Hi.
And also a big thank you to you guys joining us, whether it's on YouTube or listening to us via one of the podcast platforms. Always good to have you with us for the show. Before we do get into the show, though, we do need to just express our thoughts and condolences with Shaq Barrett and his family. There was some devastating news that was released yesterday about his daughter, who unfortunately passed away after a incident at their home. So from everyone at Bucs UK, our thoughts and prayers are with Shaq Barrett and his family during this really difficult time for them all. As always, please make sure you give the video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure you turn on that bell so you're notified every time we upload. Right, well, that's our introductions all done there. Let's now get on and discuss the 8 picks that the Buccaneers had during the 2023 NFL draft. So we have, here we go, let's just list them all off for our viewers quickly now. In round 1, defensive lineman Elijah Cansey from Pittsburgh. Round 2 was Cody Mock, offensive lineman from North Dakota State. Round 3, we had Yaya Diaby from Louisville, and that's an offensive linebacker just there. Excuse me. Round 5, 2 picks in round 5. Savosia Dennis, Pittsburgh, inside linebacker there, and Payne Durham from Purdue, who's a tight end. We've also got round 6, Josh Hayes, Kansas State, and Trey Palmer from Nebraska, wide receiver, and also Jose Ramirez, Eastern Michigan. Quite a bit of defense focused on during the draft there, Marianna and Graeme. I'd just like to come to you guys for your initial thoughts on the draft and the job that Jason Light did. Marianna, I know you were saying before we came on that you haven't kept up to date as much as you normally would, but I would say you are certainly a draft expert within Bucs UK. What do you make of the 2023 Buccaneers draft class?
I actually, at the time, I was a little bit kind of nonplussed about it. I wasn't quite sure. I think most of us expected us to fill some offensive line issues. And while we've picked up one offensive line player, I think there was a lot of hope that we'd be filling or helping to fill the spot somehow that Donovan Smith has basically left on that left tackle side. But I think what we've ended up with, certainly from reviewing stuff post-draft, it's very difficult, I think, for all of us pre-draft without knowing who the players would pick. None of us are that up with all of the college players. But once you start sort of looking at some of the tape afterwards and really reviewing those players, what we've got, I think, is actually a really solid draft and a lot of really good prospects and actually possibly some really good steals. It's just not in that area of need that we all thought we'd end up going for, which was that offensive line.
Absolutely, and I think also the secondary as well in defense, Graeme. I thought that was quite surprising that looking at the picks, nothing there in the secondary.
Yeah, well, I think Hayes, is he not defensive back, Josh Hayes?
Sorry, apart from Josh. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, apart from Josh Hayes. Sorry,
yeah. But I mean that's down in the 6th round, where you're not necessarily looking at a starter. You're maybe looking at someone who initially is going to be playing special teams and is going to be second or third on the depth chart. So yeah, I think like Marianna said, we probably hoped for offensive line help as early as possible in the draft. But to be fair, there's no point in we have so many needs at this point in time. There was no point in overreaching for an offensive lineman. The next one that went after our 19th pick was about 28th. So it's not a waste of a pick, but to reach have a reach for a guy who's actually gone 10 spots later in the draft. It's pointless. All the guys that they would have wanted in the offensive line at 19 had gone. So I mean, the motto for this year's draft was get younger and get faster, and they managed to do that defensively with the first round pick. I think just looking at Cansey's figures with 14.5 sacks and 27.5 tackles for a loss, that guy explodes into the backfield. So that was a big miss last season for us as well. So they've managed. I think they've done the right thing there in taking a defensive pick and getting the right guy. What looks like a really good fit for us at this stage. The rest of the draft, like Marianna, when I first saw the draft, saw the picks, I wasn't entirely sure. But the more I look at it, I think we've done pretty well for the cards we were dealt. Being at that kind of middle of the round, you're not getting the top level guys, but we've done pretty well, I think. And people who know more than me about college football are telling me there's a few good players in there. Time will tell. Time will tell.
Let's
I tell you what,
look back
sorry.
on. Sorry, Alex, just to look back on. I know you said we've not got particularly, we've only really got Josh Hayes that's a defensive back in terms of whether he's cornerback or safety. It's a bit of an unknown, but the strengthening up the D line and having some sort of pass rush will naturally just help our secondary anyway. We didn't really have good pass rush last year. We struggled to get to the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks were just standing and having all the time in the world. And then that, you can be the greatest corner in the world if you're having to chase a wide receiver around for, 10 seconds. That's too long. They can make that separation. So I think improving on the D line is an investment in both areas in the end.
I'm glad you brought that up, actually, Marianne, because it brings me on nicely, because I want to stick sort of with Elijah Cansey just for a moment, because if we think back to what you're saying there about how when we won the Super Bowl in particular, our pass rush was outstanding with Sue and oh my goodness, it was Sue and Golston, wasn't it? Supporting Vita Vea, and then you had JPP and Shaq Barrett coming from the edge. If we can get that player to essentially replace Sue, because we haven't really got that, and if Elijah Cansey can be that player, because Vea, I thought last season Vea was not the player he was the season before because he didn't have those guys around him. And I was slated a lot for saying that Sue wasn't as big a miss as a lot of people thought I was talking rubbish. I still stand by. I think losing Sue was huge, and the fact we haven't replaced him, I think that showed certainly last season. We could not get to the quarterback, and the amount of pressure that put on also Devin White and Levante David, those two, again, their numbers, they were good, but nothing compared to what they were in the Super Bowl season. And our defensive backs were just getting slated every game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we're sticking with Elijah Cansey, that pick number one, from everything that I've seen, of some of the breakdowns of his play and the people that they're comparing him to. I mean, everyone compares him to the Aaron Donald thing. That's an obvious comparison because he's come out of the same school with the same sort of size, very similar stats. So that's going to be if I could have half the player of Aaron Donald, I'd probably be quite happy, to be honest. But I do think when you look at his tape, he's got technique. He's not just got speed and athleticism. He's got technique. He can really get past the players. He knows how to jam up the O-lineman's arms and get past them and get through. So he's going to be a very different player next to Vea. Vea's our big guy, and he can go back to sort of taking the double teams, while hopefully Cansey can get past and get straight to the quarterback. That would be lovely to see that sort of thing again.
And especially when we have. Sorry, Graeme. Sorry.
Sorry, Alex. No, just Marianna spoke about watching the tape. That was fascinating, seeing how quickly Cansey gets off the ball. He is lightning fast, and he's past some of those offensive linemen before they'd even moved. He's so quick, and that's something we haven't had. I mean, you could go back as far as Simeon Rice at the speed that getting to the quarterback. It's been a long time since we've had that kind of speed. So I really, really like those two picks, the first and third pick. Gets us, apart from Yaya Diaby having the best name in the draft, I think the two of them could bookend really well on the defence. Yeah.
And just sort of to add on to that, hope we'll have Shat Barrett back. Well, hopefully we'll have Shat Barrett back next season as well, because obviously he was out with injury as well. So another big loss to the defense there. So if you put him in the mix as well, I mean, on paper, from what we've seen on the tape, what we've got on the stats, obviously I know you don't win a game on paper, but it's looking pretty good on paper. It looks like Jason Light again might have worked some magic here.
Yeah, I think we've got a good first kind of string. It looks like. I think where we're really going to find ourselves in bother is on both offensive and defensive lines is the depth. And when you go 2 or 3 games in and you've got 2 or 3 injuries on each line, that's when you find out how good your squad is, how good your 53 is. And that's where we kind of failed last year. And I think this year's worse because, looking at something like 8 starters have gone this year, and maybe we've brought 1 or 2 in, but certainly not brought 8 starters in. So there's issues getting starters on getting out there, and there's also bigger issues, I think, getting good solid backup in behind them. And I think that at the moment, with my pragmatic, or if call it pessimistic hat on, I think that's where our biggest problem lies right now, is the depth. I think we've got some decent players there, but depth could be an issue.
Yeah, it felt like with the Kalijah Cansey pick, I'm sure that if one of the offensive linemen had dropped, one of the OTs had dropped to the same position, we probably would have taken an OT. If we'd got like a favourite of them and they'd dropped there, we probably would have taken them. But from everything that I've seen, this Kalijah Cansey could work out to be an absolute steal. And I think if Jason Light has really got us, the second coming of Aaron Donald, I'm not going to be upset at all.
No, it's interesting because when the pick was made for Cansey, there was little, if not no hesitation. I don't think I've seen a pick going much quicker than how soon the call was made. So either, as you say, the O-linemen that we were interested in the first round had obviously gone, or Cansey was our first pick, whatever happens, because Light was ready. That went in boom like that. So he was clearly a player that Jason Light really, really has, big hopes for.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have had their draft board knowing, well, who they hoped would still be there at 19. And obviously, if it wasn't an offensive lineman, they were obviously keen on Cansey, and that's great. If they get a guy they like, they've done their work on him. And he obviously is going to fit into the system they've got. They've got planned for next season, which is fantastic. It's you're at that stage. You've seen all these clips of him in college, and you're really keen to get him out on the field now and see how he plays in the NFL. We've got to wait a few months, but yeah, he really looks a player.
I mean, does anyone have any concerns about him being small? I mean, they are all sort of saying that the one thing against him is undersized, but I just look at his technique and think that his technique is going to get him past.
Anytime anyone says that about a defensive player, I've got 2 words for them: Derek Brooks.
Yeah.
Brooks was undersized, but fast as lightning.
Yeah. I just think if you can catch a big O-lineman off guard when they're still trying to move forward, it doesn't matter how big and how heavy and how strong they are. If you catch them off guard, off balance, he's going to get past them.
Absolutely, and and if the speed that we've all seen on the tape, if that's how, if he can keep that speed up, and if not get faster, as you say, Marianna, if he's off that line quicker than the O lineman, why can't you do a shimmy or a double step or something?
The way he pins their arms is beautiful.
Yeah.
The way he sometimes just catches their arms and just sort of does the swim move over the top is just beautiful. If you see some of that on his tape, so I've really got high hopes for the lad. Yeah,
I think my big concern. I'm a record on repeat. Every year I say offensive line. We've got to be able to keep the quarterback upright. And glad that we've got Cody Mauch. Good to see that. But the fact that we don't even know what position he's going to play. We don't know if Tristan Wirfs is going to go to left tackle or not. We don't know who the 5 are going to be on the offensive line. It's in such a state of flux at this point that it really worries me.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting watch to see what happens during pre-season,
Yeah.
OTAs, etc.
Bearing in mind, we're carrying an absolute mountain of dead cap money this year, and we have no room at this point in time. I think we're still well over the cap. So
no.
Yeah.
In real
I can't
terms,
see us bringing in anyone. Like, I'm not sure who can plug that, which feels to me like the only move that you can do if you're going to plug the gap that Donovan Smith has left is to move Tristan Wirfs over. But at the same time, Cody Mark guy looks amazing. He looks like, it's like the second. Well, the Buccaneers were having good fun with that pick and the various Ryan Jensen memes that were coming out.
It was Ryan Jensen. Who else was it? There was a few pairs in there.
O'Keefe as well.
That's it. Thank you. Oh dear. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's sticking with sort of the O line kind of. I'm very loosely sticking with the O line here. I just want to have a quick chat about Payne Durham, this tight end we've drafted, because it seems like he's mainly been used in the blocking game when he was at Purdue. He is capable of a good catch. There's tape of him making some great touchdowns. He looks like one scary dude. I don't know if anyone's seen. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like a mugshot, where bald head, moustache. He looks terrifying. But certainly, and tight end is an interesting position for me because, of course, we've got. Oh my goodness, his name's gone.
Otten.
Thank you, Otten. Thank you. Name just went completely out of my head. Otten really stepped up last season, and it looks like that he is first string. He seems to have nailed that one on. Carl Rudolph has gone. Obviously, rumors that Gronk might have re-signed last season never happened, so he's not back. That tight end position, it was a need. What do we think about what's Payne Durham going to be? I mean, we know he's not going to be first string, but what are we going to see from him, do we think?
Well, I think last season we saw Otten and Keefe, where the one was the catcher, or one was a pass catching guy, one was a blocking guy, and I think we've got a bit of a guy who can do both here. So maybe he's the guy that slots in between the two. If one goes down, he steps up into that position. He seems quite versatile. I mean, I was actually caught by when I looked at his receiving stats. They're really good. So I think we might have, we'll see how he goes, see how he fits into the scheme. Because, as good as they are in college, we all know that you can look great in college and come into a pro football scheme and it just doesn't happen. But, hopefully it will. Yeah, looking for my favourite ever player out of Purdue was Mike Allstott, so I'm hoping that Payne Durham can be the next one.
Yeah, I
just convert him to a fullback.
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
agree
Marianna.
with Graeme. He does look more like a sort of very much the sort of jack of all trades guy. He is very much like the versatile guy. O'Keefe, as I thought last season, was going to be used as a blocker. He was never a catching tight end. Coming out of college, his stats were like not showing that. And in fact, if anything, we used him quite a few times in more of a fullback role and going ahead of like the running back because we were so bad at making gaps to get our running back through. So I think you're right. I think he kind of slots in. I think, if anything, Keefe is a little bit on the bubble because, as I say, he plays that more fullback role, more blocking tight end. I think you need someone more like a Payne Durham that can either block or catch. He feels more like a middle of the field kind of catcher. He's not going to run up the field and, he's not going to pull off an explosive run up the field, but he'll be a very good, solid sort of, first down type catch guy. That middle of the field, which also we kind of didn't have last season. We were either trying to throw long or doing everything backwards almost, like very short 1-2 yard stuff. So he's that, 5, 6, 7, to 10 yards sort of thing, get you that first down position just in the middle of the field. So I like the pick, in fact, of Payne Durham. I didn't know anything about him until I watched a bit of him, and I think, he's he's got a real chance of stepping in and probably taking the number 2 spot and pushing Keith down, really, if anything.
On the subject of picks that we like, I just like to talk about Trey Palmer. Because again, I didn't know anything about him until I saw the pick had been made, but I have gone away, looked at some of his tape. My word, is this guy quick. He has got some legs on him. And his numbers for last season are good. It's 71 receptions, 1,043 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So there are the comparisons that have been made are is sort of in the Scotty Miller mold. This guy, but a wide receiver again, another area that we need to do some work on. I like the look of this guy. I think Trey Palmer could come in and do something pretty good for us.
Yeah, he's definitely that speed guy. He's got speed, and he's done returning in his college career, and that's, you know, we've all highlighted multiple times in previous podcasts that our return game is not the finest. So if he comes in,
who said that? That wasn't Kieran that said that, was it?
Might have been. But I mean, if he's being picked at round 6, it feels like he's a special teams pick. So it does feel like he's probably, you know, he's our next try at probably returning. He's quick. The only thing that slightly worries me is he's had quite a few drops. And so I think he'll need to clean that bit of his game up. But again, are we that worried if he's going to sort of start really in that sort of special teams role and grow into? He's got time to work out the sort of kinks in his game, I guess.
Yeah,
so I'd like to see him try the return.
The depth chart, the receiving depth chart, if you look at how, you've got Evans, Godwin, and Gage, and it's pretty much open after that, because over the last couple of seasons we've had and lost a lot of good receivers, and you know, so the third spot's open, the fourth spot's open. But I think you're right, Marianna. It looks like all the stats make it look like he's in there to return initially, and I'm sure he'll slot in there and score a few touchdowns and kick returns and punt returns this year and keep Kieran quiet.
Don't get me wrong, I agree with what you're both saying there, but Graeme, you sort of took the words out of my mouth, because, you know, having looked at our depth chart, I've got a feeling we could see him taking quite a few snaps on offense, because at the minute, you know, I think we are lacking the depth at wide receiver right now. We don't have that depth that we used to have. I think we're going to see him a bit more than people think. Yes, I'm sure he will start off in special teams more than anything else, but I think he's going to get his chance pretty quick.
He may well get some playing time. I think we'll see Jason Light go to work though in free agency. I think he'll be looking for the guys, you know, he'll be looking for a name on wide receiver. That'll be one of the positions, and probably offensive line. He'll be looking for a name to bring in there, and I think we'll see someone else coming in. But at the same time, you know, the fourth slot is definitely going to be up for grabs.
No, can I just throw out an interesting undrafted free agent name that we got? That we picked up, Cade Warner, son of Kurt Warner, the ex-quarterback. So that's an interesting pickup. Yeah, he played wide receiver at Kansas State, I think. So we picked him up as an undrafted free agent. So it's an interesting little pickup, and I'm sure he's got a lot of football knowledge, if anything. I don't know really much. I haven't had a chance to look into his stats and stuff in terms of like the undrafted free agents that we picked up. I didn't really look much into them, I must admit, but I did notice that we picked him up. It's become a little bit of a story, and it would be, you know, I feel like he's definitely going to have football knowledge from coming from his dad. So,
I mean, you'd hope so.
He's probably got a chance, as you say, of making that wide receiver room.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, all right then, you two. Let's. I want to get your grade for the Buccaneers draft. So where would you say, what letter would you put on it? Marianna, where would you grade the 2023 draft class?
Oh, it's a difficult one. You know me, I'm always positive about the Buccaneers. I don't like to be negative. I actually think it was a very good draft. I think we got a couple of steals in there. There's a couple that we've not really talked about. So I'll get his name wrong now. But Savocha Dennis, I think he's got a real good chance of coming in at linebacker and actually playing a lot of snaps there. He's got super intelligence. He seems to play very smart. He might not be, athletically again the best, or he's got some kinks, but he may well play a lot of snaps. And with Devin White kind of being a little bit upset, that's another good pickup with Dennis, with Devin White making a few sort of moves, wanting a trade and whatever else. So I'd give us a solid sort of B, I think. Looking at it, I don't think we necessarily filled all the areas that we could, but I think with the draft, maybe the depth just wasn't there in those positions, and so with what we've got, I think we've done very well.
I can see you nodding. You agree, Marianna, on that one?
I had written down B, yeah, a B or a B minus, but call it a B, yeah. I think similarly, I think we were at that part of that. You have to take into account where we were in the draft. We were never going to get the big names. We were never going to get the best one or two offensive linemen. That just wasn't going to happen. So I think with the position that we had in the draft, I think that the front office staff have done a really good job. Jason Light's done his stuff. I think they've got 3 or 4 guys up at the top of the top few rounds there that they're probably absolutely over the moon to get. So yeah, pretty solid B for me as well.
Yeah, I've also, it's gone B as well. I agree with you completely. And another player we haven't really spoken much about is Jose Ramirez. And actually, looking at his numbers, I'll confess I've not looked too much at him. But last season for him, 12 sacks, 19.5 tackles for loss. They're good. They're solid numbers. So we're talking about steals. On paper, I say Ramirez looks like a steal. Trey Palmer looks like a steal for me. I think we might have some good players hiding in those lower picks. So yeah, I agree with you guys there. Yeah, I'd say a B for the Buccaneers draft there also. So let's just have a quick discussion about some of the other gaps that might need filling. Obviously, the draft is only a small part that goes into building the roster for the season. Some areas have been focused on. There are other areas that we have highlighted which still need a bit of work. Of course, the offensive line is a huge discussion that is going to, and something that will be kept a very close eye on during the rest of the off season and into the preseason. Bucs Report did release an article earlier that's about Tristan Wirfs moving to left tackle and Luke Cadet going into right tackle. So that's another option there. Graeme, before we started recording, you and I were having a bit of a chat about the offensive line. So this is nowhere near over. Still a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah, definitely. The fact that there's potentially moving your best player from the right side over to the left side. You've drafted a guy who can play all 5 positions. We don't know what his best position is. It was tackle at college, but they're projecting him as a guard in the pros. The lack of depth, it all just kind of, it's all bad vibes there. I'm usually relatively positive, but I just got a feeling there's a lot of work still to do in the offensive line before the season starts. And again, due to the salary cap position, I don't think we're going to be throwing up huge money at some fancy free agent who's who's going to be demanding a rather large salary. I think we're going to be looking at bringing in guys to build up the depth of the offensive line. Offensive line, defensive line, that's where most of your injuries are going to happen. These guys are getting hammered week in, week out, and you're going to get a lot of injuries in there. So we barely have a starting offensive line at this stage. I don't think anyone knows where a single player is going to start, other than Ryan Jensen's going to be our starting centre. And I don't think anyone knows what any of the other positions are going to be for certain at this stage, and that's a bit worrying, albeit, as I say, the Jason Light and the front office staff have always worked wonders. However, what they've done over the past few years was really bought a Super Bowl on tick, and we're now paying the bill. So there's a lot of dead cap money that's just going to stifle our opportunity of maybe getting a productive offensive line this year, which is disappointing me, because I think if Baker Mayfield gets the time and space, he could actually, that could be a really good player for us. But if he ends up like Tom Brady did last year, well, Tom Brady just threw the ball away last year, didn't he? Spent the whole year seeing somebody coming at him and just dumping the ball in the dirt to avoid interceptions. Mayfield's less likely to do that and more likely to throw the ball up in the air and turn the ball over, I would have thought. So it's the big worry is the offensive line for me. I don't see how it's going together yet. I don't see how it's going to come together. I think there's a lot more work to do there. But there are guys who get paid a lot of money to do that, and Jason Light's the man.
I fully agree with you, Graeme. At the moment, I think obviously the biggest hole is your left tackle. That everyone knows. Like, left tackles, they're not like good left tackles are not available. They're just not. I don't see what option we have. We can't go out and buy, bring someone in. We've got, as you say, our cap space is non-existent. We could offer them a cup of tea and maybe a biscuit, and that's about it. So I can't
the most
see what
richest thing
option
possible.
we've got. I can't see what option we've got other than moving Tristan Wirfs across. I don't like it because he's played so well at right tackle. But I can't see that you can put anyone else in that left tackle position. Gadecki couldn't even play left guard last year, I'm afraid to say. So I can't see him moving into that position. I don't know how Gadecki. I've not seen this report saying that he'd moved to right tackle. I can't see him being in right tackle spot. I think Gadecki's going to have to play a guard spot. I can't see him stepping up to a tackle spot. As I say, he struggled at left guard last season when he was in. I think if you play him anyway, you play him still at that left guard position. As you say, centre is probably dead set Ryan Jensen. So then our problem is right side. So I love the pick of Cody Mock. I think, you see he's a typical Jason Light pick, isn't he? He's a small school O-lineman, and we've had a lot of luck with them. So I love the pick. They basically compared him to Kappa. So does that mean we're playing him? I guess right guard, right? So
potentially.
Yeah.
Then who have we got a right tackle?
Yeah.
I don't see a natural fit. The only other person I can think that we've got left in, Hainsey's still around, but he's more of a across the centre and the two guards. I've got no one that I can put then in that right tackle position. So all I've done is shift my tackle position across from one side to the other. I'm looking, not exactly looking forward, but I'm kind of bated breath as to see what we do to address that O-line. I can only think it would be cheaper to bring in someone on the right-hand side than it would be to bring in someone on the left-hand side, and that we'll shuffle some contracts around and some money around and figure out a way to bring in someone on the right tackle side. That's the only thing I can think. But then, as you say, where's the depth if someone gets injured?
And it's sort of, as you say, the money is for that left tackle, because essentially you're talking about the quarterback's blind side. The quarterback can't see anything. Well, they can, but you need a guy you can trust there. So I get what you're saying about Tristan Wirfs, Marianna. I completely agree with you. Here on that right hand side, he has been outstanding, absolutely outstanding. But then I looking at what we've got at the minute, I think the only guy I would trust to even attempt that transition from the right side to the left side would be Tristan Wirfs, because whoever's on your left side, you need to know that the quarterback needs to know that he can trust that person to stop someone coming on that side. And with the cap space, like you said, we can't afford anyone. These tackles cost a fortune in the NFL. And a good example is, the only one that springs to my mind for obvious reasons is the Joe Theismann injury back in, oh, when was that? You know, when he broke his leg in two places because and that was the left tackle that let him that missed the block. You've got to have a strong left tackle. I think Tristan Wirfs has got to be the guy at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all concerned about how he converts from right tackle, where we know he's excellent. What you don't want to do is take a guy that is supreme at their position, move him to a new position that they struggle with. You know, the guy is getting plaudits at right tackle, and we move him to left tackle. He has a bad season or so. He loses a lot of his confidence. Do we basically kill his career with the move to left tackle?
True. No, true. And also, and I think a lot of people, well, not people follow the NFL, but I think anyone who doesn't follow the NFL will go, you know, what's the difference? But it's positioning. It's not as simple as, you know, he's going to be used to putting all his weight on his right foot, for example, or his right leg, whereas shifting to left tackle, he's got to turn his body completely. It's a completely different position to be blocking a player from. It's not as simple as it sounds. If it was, we wouldn't need to be, we wouldn't be having this discussion about the offensive line. We'd go, it's fine. We'll chuck
anyone there.
Yeah, left tackle. yeah. I tell you what, why don't we throw you know, we'll throw Josh Hayes there for goodness sake, you know, but yes, it's yeah. I don't really know what else to add apart from that. Apart from it's going to be squeaky bum time, I think, with that offensive line, certainly over the off season.
We've just got to trust in Jason Light, and we have to see what happens, right?
Well, that's the saving grace. The saving grace is that there are a few months now, a few very quiet months usually within the NFL, and him and his staff, they'll be working away in the background trying to get something sorted. But yeah, as I say, they bought a Super Bowl, and we're all very grateful for that. We enjoyed that season, but we knew that this time was coming. I had a look at a draft, at a salary cap table, and it seemed to indicate that a third of our salary cap was taken up with dead cap space this year. So out of the 220 million, it's 70 million of it's dead money. So you know that's the price of the Super Bowl. But I think it's still doable. I think it's still workable. The division that we're in isn't outstanding. So I think if you get just above 500 like we did last year, you still make it. You know, you could still win the division.
I'm still keeping positive. As I say, with that O-line, I think, you know, if Gadecki does take a step up this year, which sometimes happens in that second, you know, sometimes takes him a year or two just to really adapt and understand the speed of what they're playing against. If he steps up, I think, as I say, I still see him at left guard. And then I see, personally, I kind of see Malk at right guard, but I'm not sure really. But I do think he's an improvement on anything we had there. He looks, you know, and I just love the idea of Jensen and Malk being like opposite the D line, and both of them like with their mops of red hair and their grins staring you down. That'd be great. That would be absolutely brilliant. And his celebrations as well. We're all looking forward to those, right?
Well, funnily enough, Marianna, it's just talking about the depth chart that I'm looking at, which is ESPN. They have Cody Malk starting at left guard, Nick Leverett second, and Luke Gadecki now third in line.
Yeah,
which is a reflection on, you know, on last season's performance. But you hope that experience and you know, some off-season work and whatnot, that he comes back a better player, and that's very possible.
So the draft didn't go quite as any of you all predicted. Some of you guys did get really close, though. In fact, we had a 6-way tie. All of the people you see on the screen currently had 2 correct positions in the correct round. So well done to you guys. But you do know what that means. There's only one way here at Bucs UK that we can choose a winner. So we are back with our trusted wheel of names and our 6 winners, if you like, or 6 closest guesses, shall I say. We've got Pete Payne, Reese Bevis, Kieran Hyams, Gary Bottley, David Harris, and Amelia Walmsley. So well done to you 6 for getting this far, but there can only be one winner. So let's spin the wheel and find out who is the winner of the Bucs UK members draft competition. Oh, just snuck in there, David. Congratulations, David Harris, the winner of our competition. Your prizes will be on the way to you very, very soon. And just quickly, an update on the Bucs UK AGM. A date has been set. It's going to be the 24th of June in Hemel Hempstead. Same place as last year. We're all really, really looking forward to it. Please keep an eye, members, please keep an eye on your emails and the forum. Tickets will be available to purchase very, very soon. We want to see as many of you as we can there. Marianna, you were there last year along with me, I think, if I remember seeing you there. I do,
Yeah.
yep. Great event, wasn't it? You know, it always good fun.
Great fun. The weather tried to dampen our spirits and it didn't. And yeah, good fun, good drinks, good friends, conversation. Love it. It's definitely, and I think it's your chance as members. I think there's a lot of new members. You know, it's your chance to have your say in how the club's being run, and if there's any sort of changes or anything that you want to see, that's your chance to make your voice heard. So come along.
And there'll be plenty of food, plenty of drink, games, chats, laughs. It's a great day and a great day for as a club to get together, have a good time. So please, if you are around on the 24th of June, you are a Bucs UK member, make sure you purchase a ticket. We want to see as many there as we can. That does bring us to the end of our show. Thank you ever so much for joining us. Graeme, Marianna, any closing thoughts from you guys?
I think,
just from me, just reasonable draft. I think a lot of work's still to go on, and I think the Jason Light and the guys will do us proud. I think we'll have a good team out there at the start of the season. Can't wait for it to start.
Absolutely. I think Graham's kind of made the point. I think the draft always feels like, to me, the point where the season really sort of starts. I know it starts officially a bit earlier, but it's the first bit that I really get excited about, and seeing, you know, who those new pieces of the team are going to be. So I'm really looking forward to seeing these new guys that we picked up, you know, joining the team, and starting to see some of the rookie mini camps and things like that, and the season really kicking off again.
Absolutely echo your thoughts there. Thank you so much, Graeme and Marianna, for joining me. It's been a pleasure to have you on to discuss the Buccaneers draft. And again, thank you all for watching and tuning in. Always a pleasure to have you with us. We will be back soon with another episode, and it'll be great to see you then as well. As always, take care and go Bucs.
Go
Go
Bucs.
Bucs.